Let's start with the worthless and slowly work our way towards the most terrifying ones on the list. Number 10. Magical rings. Kimball's Anti-Rheumatic ring was one of the most popular items sold by quack doctors from 1883 to around 1910. The ring was advertised to cure many ailments and diseases by quickening the circulation of blood and dissolving acid crystals in the body, which were believed to cause illness. Now, equipping a ring and expecting it to give you +5 vitality is just ridiculous. If they had only equipped a rabbit's foot, they might have actually found something useful. Quack doctors even claimed that it was the same ring that the royal family wore to stay healthy. The magical ring sold so well in the US and the UK that many other rings began to be sold claiming to cure anything under the sun. Of course, the ring was nothing special and was nothing more than a placebo. Number 9. Snake oil. Snake oil gained popularity in the US during the mid-1800s, when Chinese laborers were spotted rubbing the oil on their bodies during the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad. And once Americans tried the traditional Chinese medicine for themselves, word of the magical medicine quickly spread throughout the country. The oil was made from the fat of the Chinese water snake, a snake native to Asia, and thanks to its high content of omega-3 fatty acids, it worked well as an anti-inflammatory. But as snake oil's popularity skyrocketed, supplies could not meet demand. So a man named Stanley began mass-producing snake oil, but instead used the fat of rattlesnakes since it was widely available. He traveled the US on his wagon selling the oil as a cure-all magical elixir, claiming that it would instantly cure pains, aches, sprains, swelling, bruises, sore throat, frostbite, animal bites, and of course, numerous diseases. But by the time the unlucky buyer realized that the oil was nothing more than a scam, quack doctors like Stanley had already moved on to the next town. But here's the crazy part. Stanley was so successful in selling his snake oil that he began to mass produce the oil in many factories throughout the country, selling it in stores and in catalogs, making him incredibly wealthy. And after selling his oil for over 20 years, in 1917, the Bureau of Chemistry discovered that Stanley's snake oil didn't actually contain any snake oil at all, and the infamous term snake oil salesman was born. Number 8. Mummy powder. Perhaps one of the most disturbing items ever sold by quack doctors was Mummia, better known as mummy powder. And it's exactly what it sounds like. Mummia is a fine powder made from the ground-up remains of mummies. It was used as a form of medicine from the 12th to the 18th century and was widely popular in European countries. Quack doctors sold this as a cure-all medicine, claiming it could act as a blood thinner, painkiller, cough suppressant, anti-inflammatory, cure diseases, aid in wound healing, or really just about anything as long as it got to sell. But here's the terrifying part. The most common way that mummy powder was used was to actually eat it, either by mixing it with water, wine, or food, or by simply eating it raw. Mummia became so popular that the supplies of mummies in Egypt began to run extremely low. So Egyptians began to scam Europeans by selling them ground-up remains of people who had recently died and passing it off as mummy powder. It wouldn't be until the 18th century that physicians realized that the powder was completely useless and dangerous, which finally led to its discontinuation. Number 7. Dr. Kilmer's swamp root. Dr. Kilmer was an infamous quack doctor who sold his uncle's miracle cure known as Dr. Kilmer's swamp root from 1878 to 1906. The miracle elixir was sold as a cure for many ailments related to the kidneys, liver, and bladder. Oh, and for some reason, it also cured hangovers. The miracle elixir was heavily advertised in newspapers and magazines, but the best tactic used was when Dr. Kilmer encouraged consumers to mail in their urine for a free medical analysis, resulted in the majority of people being diagnosed with an ailment that could only be cured with Dr. Kilmer's swamp root. Swamp root became so popular in the United States that it would become a common household name, making Dr. Kilmer a multi-millionaire. On one occasion, Dr. Kilmer was asked what swamp root was good for, to which he replied, making $1 million a year. It was later discovered that the ingredients in swamp root were just alcohol mixed with herbs and spices, which is quite ironic, since the miracle medicine was meant to improve your life, not cause you to get into an argument with your wife, storm out of the house, angrily drive away in the car, get pulled over, obviously let go, argue with your wife some more, and angrily state that you can stop drinking swamp root whenever you'd like. only for the children woken from their sleep to walk in. Realizing this, you go for a hug to comfort them, but they flinch in fear and run to their mom, as she yells once more, telling you that you are ruining the family as she storms off upstairs with the children. Which of course leaves you feeling horrible and ashamed. A feeling that could only be cured with swamp root. Number 6. Asthma Cigarettes. Asthma cigarettes were a popular remedy sold primarily in Europe and the US from the early 1800s to the 1950s. They were sold by merchants and quack doctors and were advertised as an effective treatment for any respiratory ailments. This included all diseases relating to the throat and lungs, asthma, hay fever, the common cold, and even getting rid of bad breath. Now, the truly terrifying part was the ingredients inside the cigarettes. They commonly contain belladonna and stramonium, two highly toxic and poisonous plants that were believed to relax the airways. The truth was that smoking the cigarettes could lead to many respiratory conditions and often cause confusion, delirium, and hallucinations. Now, thankfully, smoking these cigarettes during an asthma attack did provide some relief. Well, at least through the eyes of the smoker. Number 5. Coca Remedies. There were many miracle elixirs, tonics, and medicines that claimed to cure many ailments and diseases, where the main ingredient was cocaine. So let's take a look at some of the most popular ones that were sold by quack doctors, beginning with toothache drops. These miracle drops claimed to be an instantaneous cure for toothaches in adults and children, which of course was very effective, but eventually required more and more drops to get the same effect. Then there were Allen's tablets, a remedy that claimed to instantaneously cure head and chest congestion. But the best part was that it was advertised to cure nervousness and sleeplessness, not by allowing you to sleep, but by making you forget about sleep altogether. Vin Mariani Coca Wine. This one was so popular that it was even endorsed by Pope Leo XIII, who was known to carry a small flask of the wine on him. He's also the most productive pope of all time. So there's that. Then of course, we can't move on without talking about Coca-Cola. Originally marketed as a medical tonic and advertised as a remedy for various ailments, such as headaches, exhaustion, and anxiety. Number 4. Opium Medicine. Just like the last entry on the list, there are way too many medicines that were sold to list here, so I'll just cover the most popular ones. Beginning with the self-proclaimed most powerful medicine ever discovered for colds, Dr. Bateman's pectoral drops. These were a popular medicine advertised to cure ailments related to the chest or lungs, such as colds, coughs, and bronchitis. The main ingredient here was opium, a strong, dangerous, and highly addictive sedative. Then there was Miss Winslow's Soothing Syrup, a medicine that was sold as a remedy for sleepless children and those suffering from toothaches, giving little Tommy a great night's sleep. Or probably a little Chucky doll if he didn't get his syrup. Godfrey's Cordial was another medicine sold for restless children and toddlers. This medicine was so popular and widely abused that mothers would give it to their children to put them to sleep, allowing them to work uninterrupted. Now, the sad part is that throughout the years, this medicine actually killed many children due to its high opium content. Laudanum was yet another miracle elixir said to cure various ailments, including pain, coughs, insomnia, and teething infants, and was sold by many companies, making it very cheap and widely available. Sold from the 16th through the 20th century, it claimed and ruined many lives due to addiction and overdoses. Number 3. Arsenic Products. Today, we all know that arsenic is highly toxic and can lead to arsenic poisoning. But before this was widely known, quack doctors sold many cosmetic products that contained high levels of arsenic. So let's take a look at two of the most popular ones. Arsenic soap was advertised to give anyone the perfect skin complexion and quickly fix and cure any unfavorable skin conditions, including acne and psoriasis. Arsenic wafers were another product advertised to lighten skin color and give clear and beautiful skin, free of pimples, freckles, and imperfections. Now, the reason why these products were so dangerous was due to the very slow poisoning effects of arsenic. You see, symptoms appeared and worsened over time. The process could take months or even years, leaving the person confused and uncertain about what is causing their symptoms. In many cases, this eventually led to a range of health issues like organ damage, neurological problems, and increased risk of cancer. Number 2. Mercury Products. Calomel is a white, odorless solid that contains mercury, a highly toxic metal for humans. It was advertised as a miracle cure from the 16th through the 20th century. There were many products that used use calomel, so I'll just cover the most popular ones. Dr. Livingston's Rousers were a pill mixture containing calomel, marketed and sold for 40 years as a preventative and cure for malaria. And to be fair, it was quite effective against malaria, but also very toxic. Steedman's soothing powder was a very popular medicine that was given to babies who were teething. It worked quickly to stop babies from crying, since it was poisoning them. Prolonged use led to severe forms of mercury poisoning, which could lead to pink disease, slow development, and nerve damage. But in severe cases, it was outright fatal. Blue Mass was a mercury tablet advertised to treat a variety of conditions, including constipation, depression, and tuberculosis. It is well known that President Abraham Lincoln would regularly take these pills, which could explain his outbursts of anger, insomnia, and tremors, all signs of mercury poisoning. Then there were calomel pills, another miracle product that was very similar to Blue Mass, just marketed to cure liver problems, syphilis, and digestive issues. Of course, like Blue Mass, it had zero benefits and only caused mercury poisoning or worse. Number 1. Radioactive Products. The deadliest and most terrifying miracle medicine ever sold has to be radioactive water. Radium water was all the hype in 1924 through 1930, selling over 400,000 bottles. Sellers claimed that the deadly water could cure all sorts of ailments, including arthritis, flatulence, and get this, poisoning. Now, the most famous and disturbing case related to this product involved a man named Eben Byers, a wealthy industrialist who regularly consumed the radioactive water. But after consuming it for several years, in 1930, he began to lose his teeth. Soon, his jaw began to disintegrate and holes formed on his skull. And in 1932, he finally died from radiation poisoning, a slow and painful process. But here's where things get even darker. Radioactive water was not the only deadly product on the market. There were radioactive suppositories, which of course were administered through a person's back door. Then there were arium radium tablets, which were radioactive pills that were advertised to give Superman powers. Yep, that one would have got me. Then there were dozens of cosmetic products that were incredibly deadly, from radioactive toothpaste, face creams, lipsticks, and powders. But after many decades on the market, around 1950s, countries began to regulate these deadly products and discontinue them. I guess in the end, it turns out that humans will try just about anything in our endless search for health and beauty. Anything but actually going to the gym.